The story begins with the main character, Cheyen, feeling shocked after hearing that he is about to be expelled from the party. Cheyen nervously asks why, reminding them of their promise to become ranked adventurers together. Jason, the leader of the party Argonauts, angrily shouts at Cheyen, saying it's because of his current state. Cheyen's condition was far from good. He shouts back, saying he knows that but insists he has been giving his all to keep up with them. Jason shouts that he agrees, but Cheyen isn't good enough in swordsmanship, sorcery, or the holy arts, and his gift isn't suited for combat. He tells Cheyen that he needs to think for himself about it. Suddenly, the team's sorceress Medea interrupts Jason and asks to take over for now. Medea then bluntly states that with Cheyen's current strength, he is nothing more than a burden to the team. Medea continues, reminding Cheyen about the quest they took the other day, saying he could barely land a hit on the trolls. Cheyen admits it's true but argues that he still fulfilled his role as a decoy. Cheyen admits it's not just about the trolls and guesses, they must be talking about all their previous battles. He soon realizes that, if he thinks about it, none of his skills allow him to deliver a decisive blow. It's not that Cheyen had neglected his training, he just could never match Jason in swordsmanship. He could also never wield high-tier sorcery like Medea, the Archmage, could. He could never hope to cast recovery spells as powerful as Asu's. Cheyen sighs and admits that with his gift, he figures he could only ever grow this much. Medea then tells Cheyen that, for now, the team will focus on becoming an A-ranked party and making Jason a hero. Medea explains that with his gift, the translator of creations, Cheyen could no longer keep up with the team. Hearing this, Cheyen gets pissed off but reluctantly agrees. Cheyen then asks if Asu is aware of this. Jason responds tensely with a yes and turns to Medea, asking if he's telling the truth. Medea confirms, saying that it was most certainly a unanimous opinion. Medea then thanks Cheyen for his service up until now. Cheyen tells Jason to remember not to get overly carried away and even asks Medea to take care of him. Medea responds with an okay, reminding him that she was, after all, Jason's personal wand. Jason angrily tells Cheyen to just leave, saying he doesn't want to hear from losers. He even demands that Cheyen leave behind his items in gold. Cheyen responds with an okay, saying he would leave them to the guild. In fact, there is an occupation called an adventurer, and their duties span across various domains. There is even a ranking system for adventurers. To become an S-class adventurer, one would have to accomplish a feat as grand as saving the world, or the adventurer would stand no chance. So accordingly, the norm for adventurers is to aim for the A hero rank, which Cheyen had once hoped for as well. Cheyen shares that he had just been expelled from the party Argonauts. The party Argonauts is rumored to be the B-class party closest to becoming an A-rank party. Along with his childhood friends Jason and Peleus, Cheyen left the countryside to pursue their dreams. Cheyen continued, sharing that when they first started out, even mere goblins were quite challenging for them. He would cover for Jason, who was quick to anger. Along the way, they welcomed Medea and steadily advanced in their careers. However, recently, Cheyen felt his growth had hit a block, and the reason for this seemed to lie in the gift he possessed. In fact, it's a latent ability that suddenly awakens. Those who awaken to it often lead lives aligned with their gift. Perhaps Cheyen's life would have been different if he hadn't become an adventurer. Cheyen wonders if things could have turned out better for him if his gift had been suited for combat, but he becomes frustrated with himself for not receiving any gift related to combat. When Cheyen enters the Adventurers Guild, the others inside start making jokes about him, saying, "Isn't this Cheyen, the former member of Argonauts?" Some people even say that it looks like Cheyen finally realized the team kept him around out of pity. Suddenly, the guild attendant, Angelina, comes shouting, telling everyone not to fight among themselves. Angelina welcomes Cheyen and asks if they could talk him back. Cheyen then hands over the funds and items that belong to the Argonauts. Angelina reassures Cheyen that the items are in good hands. Suddenly, she gets angry at Jason and Medea for forcing Cheyen to return such a small amount. She even offers Cheyen the option to report the items as misplaced. Cheyen responds that he hates to admit it, but they were right, especially when it comes to his abilities in battles. So at most, Cheyen figures he would qualify as a D rank if going solo. Angelina interrupts, shouting that it isn't true. From what she's seen, whether solo or not, Cheyen must surely be a C rank. Angelina tells Cheyen that if he desires, she could even introduce him to a B-ranked party, just like the Argonauts. Hearing this, Cheyen responds that he appreciates her offer but would prefer to start as a solo adventurer. She gets embarrassed hearing this and apologizes for her hasty judgment. Cheyen shares that he wishes to reflect on his true abilities and that her words have given him some courage. Angelina smiles and responds that, if that's the case, there is a quest she's been wanting to offer him. She explains that there have been reports of a mass emergence of orcs in a nearby dungeon. She asks if Cheyen can help by eliminating a few of them. Angelina adds that all Cheyen needs to do is bring back the orc ears, and the guild will exchange them for coins. She mentions that it would also help the guild if Cheyen could kindly inspect the dungeon using that method. Angelina even provides the payment for the task. She then tells him that she will say this as many times as she can, knowing how much he has exhausted himself for both the party and the guild. She adds that though times may be tough now, happiness surely awaits. She assures him with the words of a veteran at inspecting adventurers. Cheyen thanks Angelina for her words and then awkwardly asks if they could go out for lunch sometime. Soon he tenses up, wondering what the heck he just said. To his surprise, Angelina responds that she has two conditions. The first is for him to come back safely, and the second is for him to take her out to a nice place. Hearing this, Cheyen happily runs toward the dungeon horse carriage boarding platform. There was a horse nearby, and it asked Cheyen why he looked so happy. Hearing this, Cheyen tenses up and responds that he had already expected the horse to say that. The horse tells Cheyen to forget it and just give him some carrots. Cheyen responds with an okay. This reveals Cheyen's true power. He has the ability to talk to any creature. Cheyen could understand any animal, even monsters besides humans. If only his gift were something like that of a master swordsman, something more fitting for combat. Then just maybe he wouldn't have been forsaken by Jason and the rest. The scene shifts to some time later, where Cheyen enters a carriage. In the carriage there are two adventurers making comments about the girl adventurers. They ask her if she's alone, and if so, how about joining them, offering to share their rewards with her. They laugh, saying that the offer includes accompanying them at night. The girl sighs in relief and responds, apologizing but explaining that she had no intention of working with people weaker than her. She adds that even goblins know better when it comes to hooking up with girls. The two adventurers get furious and start shouting angrily. Seeing this, Cheyen tenses up, thinking it isn't good for the girl. But to his surprise, the girl easily dodges the guy's attacks. The adventurers are stunned and now clearly scared of her. The girl warns them that if either of them tries anything again, they will never be able to breathe again. The guys, tense and shaken, quickly say they were just kidding and meant no harm. Even Cheyen is stunned, realizing that the girl's movements are quicker than Jason's. At that moment, Cheyen is staring at her, and she warns him, saying that he would soon be congratulated by other adventurers for witnessing her skill. At the same time, Cheyen hears another voice saying that he would be targeted by other adventurers. Still confused, Cheyen responds that he will keep it in mind. But deep down, Cheyen wonders what she meant by that. Soon, she starts to ask him something else, but then stops, saying, "Never mind." Just like that, they reach the destination. Cheyen decided that for the time being, he would put everything aside and focus on pulling himself together. In the cave, Cheyen finds a slime and asks if it remembers him. The stray slime's name is Lime, and Lime asks Cheyen why he's not with the team and has come alone. Cheyen responds that he's in the midst of testing his ability as a solo adventurer. Lime asks if that means Cheyen will be soloing from now on. Cheyen replies that it's not forever and then asks Lime why he's curious about it. Lime asks Cheyen if it's possible for him to come along. Cheyen is surprised and asks Lime if he's sure about it. Lime responds, asking if the annoying blonde guy and the irritating blonde girl aren't coming. He adds that it's his own wish to venture with Cheyen. Cheyen feels tense about it, but in the end, Lime joins the team. Lime then asks Cheyen what they were supposed to be doing. Cheyen responds that there's been a massive emergence of orcs recently, so he guesses they're investigating that. Cheyen asks Lime if he knows anything about it. Lime responds that if he recalls correctly, the orcs have recently undergone a change in leadership. Rumors say the new chief holds a grudge against humans. Lime warns Cheyen to be cautious, as even those who usually stay hidden are now lurking around the dungeon. After hearing this, Cheyen starts to think that the orcs have changed due to the succession of the new chief. Cheyen realizes that if that's the case, he should really keep his eyes wide open while investigating. He thanks Lime for the warning and says he will try to be careful. On the way, Cheyen finds some goblins and tells Lime that he's going to attack them, so he should get ready. Lime responds with an okay, then adds that he hates goblins because they attack him as soon as he gets in their way. Cheyen fights the goblins and easily defeats them, as they are of 0 level. Lime praises Cheyen for the fight and asks if his skills have improved once again. Cheyen happily responds that it feels like he's done this before. As he moves forward, an arrow suddenly flies past him. Furious, Cheyen asks, "What's this all about?" The guys ask Cheyen if he's awfully calm, even disgracing them, and acting like a B rank. Cheyen quickly realizes that it's the same guys from the carriage. Cheyen responds that he doesn't recall earning any spite from them. He then thinks to himself that it seems the guy who picked on him at the bar earlier is also part of the group opposing him now. Suddenly, the guys shout at Cheyen, telling him to shut it. They explain that the leader of the Argonauts had been mocking them all this time, and now that Cheyen had gone solo, he had to pay for it. Hearing this, Cheyen realizes that it is what it is. That guy sure has a way of making bad impressions. However, he wasn't expecting to hear Jason's name so soon after his expulsion from the team. But going after a solo like Cheyen, someone easy to harass instead of the person they'd hold a grudge with, only shows why those guys are stuck at rank C. That being said, facing all 8 of them head-on is going to be a hassle. Cheyen asks them if they're sure about it, reminding them that the guild prohibits conflicts among adventurers. The guys laugh and ask Cheyen if he really thinks he could report them after his own death. Cheyen responds that if that's the case, then he thinks there's no need for mercy. Cheyen gets ready to attack, causing the enemy to tense up, but he suddenly stops. Frustrated, one of the guys shouts, asking what Cheyen could possibly do with that pointless translator. Cheyen decides to let them see how a translator fights. The enemy leader, however, shouts that it's definitely a bluff on Cheyen's part and tells the others to go ahead and get him. But to everyone's surprise, they start hearing the sound of someone cooking coming toward them. Suddenly, Lime appears, apologizing to Cheyen for keeping him waiting. Seeing Lime, Cheyen feels happy, thinking that Lime is really a good leader. The adventurers, however, get tense, thinking that it's the orc army approaching. The orcs are ranked as C rank, and they get excited seeing the humans, thinking their chief would be pleased. The leader of the adventurers then asks Cheyen to team up against the orcs. Cheyen responds with an okay, as he wasn't planning on dying at the hands of orcs. He notices that there are a total of 15 orcs, and thinks that if they fight seriously, they should be able to overcome them. Cheyen also thinks that being said, dying over this would leave a sour taste in his mouth. He decides that while he'll offer his support, he'll look for a chance to flee once things settle down. During the fight, Cheyen shouts, warning the adventurers not to let their guard down, as the leader of the orc group is at the back. He also advises them to attack the tougher-looking orcs from a distance. After giving his instructions, Cheyen thinks about leaving, but suddenly notices that the bats are becoming rowdy. He tensely asks Lime if the crazy one is headed their way. Lime responds that he can smell battle. Suddenly, a pig-type orc comes running toward the battle, shouting at the adventurers, asking whoever is the strongest to come and face him. Hearing this, Cheyen thinks that it was quite a grand declaration, but to normal humans, the words are almost incomprehensible. The leader of the adventurer group tries to take on the orc leader in battle, but the orc easily defeats the adventurer. Seeing this, Cheyen is stunned and wonders, what? An insta-kill of a C rank? Could it be that the orc is a gift-bearer? Suddenly, out of nowhere, the orc leader charges toward Cheyen, saying that he can tell by Cheyen's movements that Cheyen is the best adventurer for the time being. At that moment, Cheyen shouts and asks Lime for something. From just the call, Lime understands and rushes to get it. Meanwhile, Cheyen fights the orc leader and blocks his attack. The orc gets impressed and says it wasn't bad to resist his attack. Suddenly, Lime captures the orc's leg. The orc throws Lime aside with his leg and again praises Cheyen for taming a slime. At that moment, Cheyen finds himself thinking about the girl from the carriage. Suddenly, he hears someone shout, urging him to turn to the left, and then another voice quickly tells him to dodge to the right. Cheyen dodges to the right, and just in time, the girl arrives and pushes the orc with a single move. Seeing this, Cheyen is stunned, and the girl shares that she thought Cheyen was able to hear the prophecy correctly. She asks Cheyen again if everything is alright, and this time she even calls him her savior. Cheyen responds with a thanks and then asks, "Did you just say savior?" Deep inside, Cheyen was flustered, as a beautiful scene unfolded before him. A girl with scarlet hair, like fire, stood in front of him. Cheyen thought to himself that it must be the girl he met in the carriage. At that moment, the leader orc praised the girl for managing to repel his attack, remarking that it wasn't bad for a human female. However, the orc also expressed his displeasure, saying he couldn't appreciate her interrupting his battle. The orc, sensing that his battle with her would bring even greater delight, grinned. The girl, unable to understand his words, looked at him in confusion and asked what he was squealing for. Then, with a determined smile, she added that she would take that as his resolve to fight. Cheyen watched in disbelief as the orc, who seemed so confident and brutish, effortlessly blocked the girl's swift attack. He had expected the orc to be strong, but the girl's speed and strength were remarkable. Yet the orc was holding his ground. Cheyen realized that this battle was going to be far more intense than he had anticipated. The girl found it interesting and smiled at that moment. The pig then rushed towards her to attack, but she dodged it and counterattacked. But the pig blocked it again. At that moment, both the pig and the girl were impressed with each other as they exceeded each other's expectations. Seeing this, Cheyen thought their faces screamed that they were monstrously strong. He was tense because he wanted to help her but couldn't find an opening. The orc attacked her again, shouting and asking for her name. This time, the girl took the hit, leaving Cheyen stunned as he wondered why she did it and what she was planning. The girl suddenly used her attack called Flamberge. A large flaming fireball emerged from it and charged toward the orc. Cheyen was tense and shocked by the attack's power, especially since she didn't chant any words. He wondered if the fight was over now. Lime also said he could bet the orc couldn't withstand the attack. Seeing Lime, Cheyen felt happy knowing he was safe, but the orc withstood the attack and was still standing on his feet. He shouted at the girl, telling her she would now taste his power. When the orc ran toward her to attack, Cheyen got tense and shouted, telling her to be careful. But to everyone's shock, the girl slashed the orc, cutting off his hands, and his sword fell to the ground. The orc praised the girl, saying that no one had been able to dodge his attack until now. The girl also praised the orc, thinking she had caught him with the slash. The orc became even more furious and attacked the girl again. Seeing this, Line shouted that something was wrong. Cheyen also noticed that despite the heady injuries, the orc had become stronger and faster than before. Line asked if that meant a problem for the girl. Cheyen, tense, asked if there was a way to help her. This time, the orc pushed her back, and just then, another orc tried to attack her. But to everyone's shock, the leader orc killed his own ally. Cheyen, tense, wondered why the leader orc would do that. The leader orc shouted, telling his ally not to get in the way as this was his battle. Cheyen realized it was what they could call a warrior's pride. The orc was saying something to the girl, but she couldn't understand a word of it. Actually, the leader orc was apologizing to the girl because one of his men had caused trouble. At that moment, Cheyen interrupted them and told the orc he wanted to have a word with him. Seeing this, the girl got tense and asked Cheyen what he was up to and how he could speak with a monster. Cheyen shouted, telling the girl to let him handle this one. The leader orc asked Cheyen if he intended to disturb him. Cheyen responded with a no and explained that he wanted to treat the leader orc's wounds and reorganize the duel. The girl tensely asked what Cheyen was thinking. Cheyen replied, telling her to just wait and see. The leader orc was thinking it over. Cheyen told the orc again that if his wounds weren't healed, he would surely die. He added that with a healing spell, the orc could live to fight another day. Hearing this, the orc sat down calmly, responding that he understood. After a few minutes, Cheyen used his healing spell to restore the leader orc's hand. Seeing this, the orc was stunned and happily started warming up. Cheyen shouted, telling the orc that he hadn't regained the blood he lost, so he shouldn't overexert himself for now. Hearing this, the orc got tense and, while shaking, told Cheyen and the girl that he would let them go for the day. Cheyen wondered if the orc was an even bigger idiot than he had thought. Cheyen smiled and told the leader orc to make sure not to die before they meet again. The leader orc shared his name as Cheyen. Cheyen greeted him back. After this, the girl approached Cheyen and asked if he cared to explain what the hell he had just done. Cheyen replied, asking if she was talking about the negotiation. Cheyen then apologized to the girl for the post-fight consent and explained that he promised the orc another round with her if the orc let them go. The girl responded with a no, saying she wasn't talking about that. She asked if Cheyen had really just been talking with the monster. Cheyen replied that his gift allowed him to communicate with anything that possessed a conscience. Hearing this, the girl was impressed and said it was amazing. Cheyen, embarrassed by the praise, responded that it wasn't a big deal. It was just an unfortunate gift that only allowed him to talk. He also shared that he had been expelled from his party and was currently working solo, but receiving praise from someone like her made him happy. The girl then shared that she thought he knew she had a gift too. She tensely wondered if he was really unaware of it, so she asked Cheyen how her voice sounded to him. Cheyen responded that at times, he would hear two voices overlapping, and that's what it was. He even thanked those voices, saying they were the ones who saved him twice. Suddenly, the girl had tears in her eyes, saying that finally someone came who could hear her voice. She jumped towards him and hugged him happily, telling him that they had finally met her savior. From the hug, Cheyen felt happy as she smelled really nice, but suddenly he felt a bouncy sensation and thought it was the touch of her body. However, it was actually Lime, who had gotten stuck between them. Seeing this, Cheyen got stunned and howled in shock. The girl quickly apologized for the hug, saying she got carried away in the moment. She then introduced herself, saying her name was Cassandra, that she was B rank, and she also fought solo. Cheyen responded that it wasn't her fault, then introduced himself and Lime. He added that her name was quite beautiful and praised it. Cassandra then asked if he was up for it, wondering if he would join and form a party with her. Cheyen, surprised, asked, "What me with you?" The scene then shifts to the guild sometime later, where Cheyen returns with the collected items and shares all the information. Angelina understands that the change in orc leadership has strengthened them. She thanks Cheyen for the information, as it might help in planning a suppression operation. Cheyen asks in confusion, "What's a suppression operation?" Angelina replies that the guild will make an announcement, and when that time comes, it would be great if Cheyen could join. At that moment, Cheyen thinks that things have gotten pretty hectic this time. He soon remembers those guys and asks Angelina if she knows anything about them from the morning. Angelina replies that, unfortunately, there haven't been any reports about them. Since they were only mid-ranks, she trusts they wouldn't act recklessly. Suddenly, Angelina thinks of something and asks if something happened to him. She assures him not to worry, as she will always be on his side. Cheyen shares that he happened to cross paths with them in the dungeon and tells the whole story. After hearing it, Angelina says it seems there's no need to worry. Soon, she shouts at Cheyen, asking about the girl he brought back and whether he was flirting with girls in the dungeon. Suddenly, she becomes angry and shouts, asking if he doesn't know better than to go to the dungeon looking for love. Cheyen responds that Angelina has it wrong, as Cassandra just helped him when he was in danger. He then tensely asks if the guild has any information on what kind of adventurer Cassandra is. Angelina shares that, according to the guild, Calamity Cassandra is famous in certain regions as a B-rank solo adventurer with red hair. She is a swordsman who wields an Eastern weapon called a katana. Even when Cassandra challenges high-level dungeons with a party, she always returns alone. While she is certainly skilled, it may not be wise to form a party with her. Angelina also adds that these are just rumors, so she can't say for sure, but people often say, where there's footprints, there's monsters. Cheyen thanks Angelina for the information. Cheyen then thinks that she must have her own reasons, but she doesn't seem like a bad person. He decides he has to confirm this himself. Even if he isn't deceived, it just means he has a good sense of character. Angelina interrupts Cheyen's thoughts and asks him when they can go out on a date. Cheyen, confused, asks, "What?" Angelina responds that since the work at the guild has been less hectic, it's easier for her to take a leave. Hearing this, Cheyen is stunned and surprisingly asks if she's sure she wants to go with him. Angelina responds with a yes, explaining that he has always been a great help to her. She adds that it seems like he could manage well on his own, so it's also a way to celebrate. Cheyen happily responds that, if that's the case, he'll get back to her soon. After this, Cheyen starts wondering if Spring will finally greet him. Moreover, he realizes he hasn't had any girl go out with him on a date, and as far as he can remember, Asu is the only one. During his time in Agronauts, the girl only had eyes for Jason. Cheyen also thinks that Angelina is kind to everyone, but he bets she's just being professional, so it's still too early for him to be happy. After this, Cheyen approaches Cassandra and apologizes for keeping her waiting. Cassandra responds that she didn't mind, and besides, she enjoys looking around guilds in new towns. It gives her an idea of the guild standard. After that, Cassandra asks why Cheyen is smiling so much, wondering if something good happened. Cheyen tensely responds that he wasn't smiling, just putting on his cool Cheyen look. To change the topic, he tells her that he highly recommends the herb and pork sauté at the guild. She happily agrees to it. Seeing this, Cheyen curiously asks if it's her favorite food. Cassandra responds that it's been a while since she ate with someone, so maybe she was just excited. She then embarrassingly asks if that was weird. Afterward, they have their meal together, and Cheyen asks Cassandra if they can go to her room to start discussing whether to form a party or not. In the room, Cheyen asks Cassandra to first reveal their guild cards. Cassandra hesitates, so Cheyen asks if there's a problem. Cassandra responds with a no, saying it would be best for both of them, as it's easier to explain this way. When the card description appears, Cheyen is stunned because it shows nothing but rare and high-level skills. He couldn't even read part of her gift description. The skills listed were ones he had never seen before, and there was also something about mixed blood. She then shares that there are two things she needs to explain to him. The first thing she explains is her hair, saying that, as he could tell, she isn't a pure human. The demon blood runs in her. Hearing this, Cheyen is stunned and asks if she really means those demons. Actually, demons are beings who possess strength that rivals monsters. They are said to be descendants of gods who once fought for world dominion and ultimately fell. As of today, only a small number of them exist, and their unimaginable strength has turned them into almost legendary figures. Cheyen shares that demons do exist, but they have become somewhat reclusive. It goes without saying that he's never seen a demon before, and yet the blood runs through her. Cheyen then asks to confirm if Cassandra means half-demon. Cassandra responds with a yes, confirming it. Cheyen thinks to himself that, as a frontline fighter, she must have the best skills. Her ability to read the future also applies well in combat, and besides, she's a beauty. So if he could form a party with someone like her, he felt he was surely blessed. Cassandra then mentions that the other matter is her gift. Her gift, Demonic Oracle, has two abilities. The first lets her read a few seconds into the future. Hearing this, Cheyen says that it sure is handy. Cassandra responds with a yes, explaining that there is no weakness to her gift. However, she then adds another line, revealing that there is a critical weakness to her gift. Cheyen realizes that it was the same as last time. Cassandra explains that it was how she survived all this time, but he then hears that the future she sees through her gift would be falsely conveyed to others. She then shares something else, explaining that, for example, if she tries to warn someone about an incoming tsunami, that person would hear it as a nice day. Upon realizing this, Cheyen thinks that it's a wicked gift, as she couldn't convey what she truly wanted. He then tells her that his gift translates her lies into truths, which is why he heard it as overlapping voices. Cassandra agrees with him, saying that it's true. If he could hear her prophecy correctly, she might be able to save lives she couldn't save before because of her gift. That's why she sees him as a savior to her. She again asks what he thinks about it. Frankly speaking, her gift has its downsides, and she might be judged unfairly because of her looks, but she's confident in her physical abilities. She believes they would work really well together. She also tells him that she would do anything to work with him and would accept any terms he had. She would even let him take most of the rewards for any quest he chooses. Cheyen thinks for a moment and responds that he will form the team, but on one condition. Cassandra responds with an okay, saying that if it upsets him, she could dye her hair. Hearing this, Cheyen confusingly asks why, as he actually likes her hair a lot. He thinks it's pretty, like flames, and he couldn't help but be enchanted when she helped him. At this, Cassandra asks, did he just said that he like her hair? She again asks him if it isn't weird, pointing out that it's an unnatural hair color and proof that she isn't a pure human. Cheyen smiles and responds that it doesn't matter because what's pretty is pretty. Cheyen also adds that she should remember he's the kind of guy who forms parties with slimes, so it doesn't bother him that she has demon blood. And thanks to his gift, he knows that even monsters can be good guys, so it all boils down to the individual. Cassandra tensely asks if it wasn't even worse, as she's sure he's heard of her other name. Cheyen asks, it's Calamity, right? But he knows that, although her gift keeps making her misunderstood, she still tried to warn him. She even fought against that gift-holding orc to save him. And even now, she revealed the truth knowing it could play out badly for her, so he trusts her. Besides, he definitely knows that she's a good person. When she realized that she could convey her prophecy through his gift, she was more happy to save lives than to clear her name. To him, she seemed like a character out of a heroic tale. Cassandra embarrassingly responds that it's too much praise, but still thanks him. She then asks about the condition he thought of. Cheyen responds that she calls him her savior, but that's not what he was. If they were to form a party, they should be on equal grounds. He also shares that he doesn't mind splitting rewards, and they should discuss quests before choosing them. He wishes to have a relationship where they can complement each other. It's because he doesn't want one-sided trust. He wants them to trust each other. That's why he won't be her savior, but rather her comrade. Cheyen then asks Cassandra for her opinion. Cassandra asks if that's all. Cheyen responds that it's what matters most to him. He then smiles, saying that since he's the weaker one, he'll handle the simpler tasks. Cassandra responds that if that's the case, she would train him, as after all, they are comrades. Cheyen asks if she would really. Cassandra then shares that her training would be strict, so he should be prepared. Even if he cried and begged, she would never let him quit. Hearing this, Cheyen was stunned. The scene then shifts to the next day at the guild, where Angelina is furiously asking if the two of them are really going to form a party. Cheyen tries to say something, but Angelina cuts him off, saying she understands that he's an adventurer and she's just a guild attendant, nothing more. She then supposes that he didn't think about any of her feelings. Cheyen feels tense because he knows that Angelina is furious, having warned him earlier, but the rumors about him are all wrong. Cassandra, confused, asks why Angelina is looking at him like he's trash. Angelina then shares that since Cassandra is a solo B rank, but a womanizer, she means Cheyen is a C rank, so she will have to give him a certification test. Hearing this, Cheyen is stunned because Angelina is now treating him more poorly than ever. Angelina also shares that she knows both of them understand, but Cassandra couldn't be doing all the work. Angelina then tells them that if they fulfill the request, their party will be certified as a B rank. Cassandra gets happy, as it will be their first outing as a party, and says, "Let's go, Cheyen." Cheyen responds with an "Okay, let's go." Angelina then asks Cassandra how they both decided to form a party together, especially since Cheyen rejected her advice to join a party. She also asks if he hit on Cassandra. Cheyen tensely responds with a no, explaining that there's a reason for it. Cassandra embarrassingly responds that Cheyen was planning to stay solo, but she said she would do anything to join him, which means she was the one being pushy, and it's not his fault at all. Angelina gets stunned hearing this and says that it's very scummy of Cheyen. Cassandra responds with a no, saying Cheyen wasn't scummy, as he even praised her for her pretty hair last night. Cheyen gets scared at that moment and tensely asks Cassandra not to say it like that. Cassandra continues, saying that if Cheyen were really scum, he wouldn't have said that. Angelina, looking puzzled, asks, "Last night, right? Cheyen and Cassandra just met the other day and are already so close." Angelina praises Cheyen, saying he sure knows how to get along with the ladies. She even asks if he was on good terms with Asu and the Agronauts. Cheyen tensely responds to Angelina that she's got it wrong. There's a lot of reasons. Angelina angrily asks if the scum could shut his mouth, accusing him of spreading his scum around. Cassandra also asks if his words from last night were a lie, saying, "Of course, why would anyone like this hair?" She then apologizes, feeling sorry. Cheyen tensely responds that what he said about Cassandra's hair being pretty wasn't a lie, and it's not like he joined her just because her hair was nice. Angelina, in a ferocious tone, asks if they could keep their flirting somewhere else, as she's busy. Cheyen, feeling the tension, starts running out of the guild, shouting, "We accepted the request, so let's go, Cassandra." Angelina shouts, asking Cheyen to please return safely. Cheyen turns back and smiles, responding with an "okay." In the next scene, it talks about the creatures called trolls. Trolls are considered the final challenge for C-rank adventurers. They are much stronger and more terrifying than orcs. The most frustrating thing about them is their incredible healing ability. Anything short of a fatal strike heals almost instantly. Cheyen shares that back in the Agronauts, Medea used her powerful magic to defeat them in a single strike. They don't have high-level magic or any other effective skills. But with Cassandra's superior swordsmanship and high-quality sword, they should have a chance. So he wondered how he could buy time for Cassandra to defeat the troll creatures. So Cheyen curiously asks Cassandra how long it would take her to kill one. Cassandra responds that it would only take 5 seconds, which surprises Cheyen. Cassandra then says she could take down 2 of them quickly, leaving the last one for him. She thinks that plan should work. Cheyen nervously asks if she really means for him to fight one alone. Cassandra responds that he'll be fine and says she'll help if she has to, but she believes he can handle it. Cheyen reluctantly agrees with her for now. She then starts defeating the trolls, first by decapitating one monster's head. Next, she uses her blaze attack to burn the other monster's head. When only the last monster is left, she calls Cheyen to fight. Cheyen shouts, calling the monster to come and attack, saying he's ready for it. As the monster charges, Cheyen reminds himself that his partner has faith in him, so he can do it. He just needs to stay focused. Cheyen dodges the monster's attack and uses his blazing sword to slash it. He manages to cut off one of the monster's legs, causing it to howl in pain and fall to the ground. He felt a surge of happiness, thinking he had done it, but suddenly he heard Cassandra shouting that the monster was still alive. The monster tries to attack again, but Cheyen quickly dodges. This time, Cassandra shouts, urging Cheyen to keep up the pressure while the monster is still down. Cheyen responds with an "okay." He then slashes at the monster's hand. The monster furiously charges at Cheyen, but this time he thrusts his sword into its mouth. The sword burns the inside of the monster's mouth, and with a final roar, the monster is defeated. Cheyen feels a rush of happiness, finally having defeated the monster. Cassandra praises him, saying that using fire in battle like that was beyond her expectations. "Nice work, Cheyen," she adds. Cheyen responds, saying even he was surprised, and thanks Cassandra for her support. They then fist bump each other, celebrating the completion of the quest. The scene then shifts to the guild, where the receptionist appraises the troll stone they acquired. She congratulates them, officially recognizing them as a B-rank party. The receptionist mentions that Angelina is stuck in a meeting right now, but she'll surely be delighted to hear the news. Cheyen happily agrees, knowing that Angelina has done so much for him. The receptionist then mentions that she's not sure if he's heard, but she was asked to coordinate a large request soon. It was being organized based on information from the lead adventurer. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Jason's voice echoes, commenting that the guild must be really short-handed if they were making Cheyen at B rank. Cheyen is surprised to see Jason and greets Media as well. Jason laughs, saying he thought Cheyen would come crawling back in tears, begging to join them again, but he even made it with a woman, which isn't bad at all. Cassandra, feeling that Jason's comment is very rude, asks Cheyen if he knows the guy. Cheyen explains that the guy is Jason, the leader of the Agronauts, the group he once formed. Jason then proudly shouts, "That's right, he was the great hero Jason." Cassandra laughs at the word hero and tells Jason that she thinks he couldn't even grasp Cheyen's worth. So he was more of a zero, she adds with a smirk. Jason, furious at Cassandra's comment, angrily asks if she wants to get beaten up to a pulp. Media quickly steps in, tense, and holds Jason back, urging him to restrain himself. Jason, still furious, asks Media if she thinks he would lose to that woman, or if it's because the guild bans fighting. Media calmly responds that it's not about that, explaining that the red-haired woman is the B-rank solo adventurer, Calamity Cassandra. Jason tenses up and mutters, "The comrade killer. What a pain." Hearing this, Cassandra starts shivering and quickly says that she's not what they think. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Cheyen furiously grabs Jason by the collar, shouting and asking what the hell he just said. "Go and apologize to Cassandra," he demands. Jason is taken aback by Cheyen's sudden reaction, clearly surprised. Cheyen repeats that he doesn't mind being called an idiot, but he won't forgive anyone insulting his partner, so Jason better apologize. Jason responds, saying that it's what everyone calls her. Jason challenges Cheyen, asking him to tell him that he was wrong. Cheyen shouts back, saying that the fact Jason is still alive proves he's wrong. Jason then smirks and asks if Cheyen has fallen for Cassandra's charm. Jason then says that this isn't going anywhere and suggests settling it with a mock duel. Cheyen, tense, responds with an okay, ready to take Jason on one-on-one. Cassandra interrupts, asking Cheyen to stop and let her handle it. Cheyen tries to protest, but she responds that it's all the more reason for him to let her do it, as both of their honors are on the line. Jason tells Cheyen that having a woman cover for him certainly creates a flattering image. Cassandra retorts, telling Jason to bark while he still can. She then turns to Cheyen and asks him to wager everything on her for the match. Cheyen responds with an okay and then shouts to everyone, announcing that he's got 2 people's money on Cassandra. He asks, "Who else wants in?" The scene shifts to the battlefield, where Cassandra asks Jason if he's ready. The other adventurers gathered around cheer him on, telling him to get her, as there's no mercy for outsiders. Jason tells Cassandra that he's well aware of her abilities, so he'll let her go first. Cassandra happily accepts and then uses her Flame Burge punch. The powerful attack sends Jason flying, crashing into the wall and breaking it. Everyone is stunned that Jason got defeated in just one punch. Only Medea remains calm, as she had expected this outcome. That's why she had been asking Jason not to fight with Cassandra. Everyone present in the field is making various comments about the match. Suddenly, Angelina arrives and curiously asks, "What's with all this racket?" The receptionist hugs Angelina in tension, clearly scared by everything happening. Angelina then turns to Cheyen and asks, "Care to explain what's going on?" Cheyen explains everything to Angelina. After hearing it all, Angelina responds that she understands, but there's something else they need to discuss. She then asks them to come with her. Cassandra wonders about it, so Cheyen suggests they follow Angelina and find out. In the room, Angelina asks both of them to settle down and listen carefully. Cassandra then begins sharing that the other day, a group of adventurers headed for the same dungeon Cheyen and Cassandra had gone to, and only one returned alive. When that adventurer arrived, he barely managed to say that the orcs did this before falling unconscious. He's currently in the infirmary. After putting together all the reports and some other information, the guild will be announcing an emergency mission soon. Angelina explains that the guild is conducting final investigations before issuing the mission. That's why she wanted to hear more about their recent encounter in the cave. Cheyen responds with a yes, saying he'll tell her everything. He explains that emergency missions, unlike optional requests, are reverse nominations directly decided by the guild. Cheyen explains that those chosen for emergency missions cannot refuse without valid grounds. He wonders if it means the danger of that level is threatening the town. After hearing everything, Angelina thanks Cheyen for explaining. Angelina explains that it seems there's another individual besides the one Cheyen encountered. It's safe to assume that there's a gift bearer who can enhance the pack's abilities. Cheyen, tense, asks if it could be an orc king. Cassandra, surprised, asks if Cheyen knows about it. Cheyen shares that he had read about it in old guild records. Cheyen explains that decades ago, an army led by an orc king marched from a cave toward a town. They were small in numbers, but overwhelmingly powerful, and they ravaged the area. Cheyen continues, saying that the guild at that time mobilized their strength, focusing on A-rank adventurers. 2 towns fell, and many lives were lost. Cassandra adds that even A-rank adventurers struggled against that army, and now the army is back. Interesting, she says. Angelina shares that she doesn't think it's as bad as the Orc King, but those monsters are still a threat. She emphasizes that the adventurers need to stop them before they grow stronger. Cheyen tense says that if that's the case, then they should help too. He then asks if Cassandra is okay with it. Cassandra responds that it's perfect timing for their first job after reaching B rank. Angelina thanks them, knowing they would agree, and says they'll finalize everything before the announcement. The scene then shifts a few days later, where Cheyen and Cassandra enter the castle, and everyone stares at her. Cheyen notices that Cassandra is getting a lot of attention. Just then, Angelina approaches them and greets them. She shares that the guild has officially requested their participation in an emergency mission. Angelina asks what they think about it. Cheyen responds with a yes, saying he would definitely join, as the place feels like a second home to him. Cassandra also says that she has no reason to refuse. She adds that defeating a gift bearer comes with a special reward, right? With that in mind, her skills are more than ready for this. Suddenly, Jason's voice cuts through, asking them not to forget about him. Angelina responds, saying that the Golden Fleece Squad, led by the hero Jason, is joining as well. Jason tells Cheyen and Cassandra that it's time they learn that adventuring is all about teamwork. He then introduces his team, which includes himself, Medea, the Beast Slayer Theseus, and Swiftfoot Girl Atlanta. Cassandra calls Jason a barking loser and asks Cheyen to translate. Jason, furious, shouts that he'll make her eat those words later. He then shouts at everyone, telling them to get to the strategy meeting. When Cheyen enters the meeting, a girl named Pollux, a magic swordsman, greets him with a friendly hello. Cheyen responds by congratulating her on reaching C rank, saying he heard the news. Pollux thanks Cheyen for the congratulations and mentions that the guild has recognized them as well. Cheyen, with tears in his eyes, shares that they've grown so much, and he's incredibly proud of them. Pollux's brother, Castro, a C-rank shield knight, shouts at Cheyen, saying he didn't really need his instructions. But suddenly, out of nowhere, Pollux punches him in the stomach, silencing him. Pollux then asks Cheyen to tell him something about fighting the gift bearer. Cassandra tense asks if that kid, Castro, is alright after the punch. Cheyen shares that they are more durable than they look, as he got used to it during his rookie days, though it's still shocking at first. As for the question, he admits that honestly he couldn't handle it. Cheyen adds that if he senses a different presence, the best thing to do is to run and never fight it. Castro interrupts, saying it's because Cheyen is weak. Pollux gives him an angry look, making Castro tense up. Pollux and Castro start discussing something, and Cassandra comments, saying what a strange connection it is. On the other hand, Pollux shouts at Castro, telling him that Cheyen and Cassandra may not show it, but they actually get along. Cheyen comments that Pollux is so lovely, and Castro's sharp tongue hides his cautious, thoughtful nature. He adds that they complement each other very well. Cassandra says she's kind of jealous. Cheyen smiles and replies that there are some things they can't just replicate. He then asks Cassandra to let's build their own strong bond. Cassandra responds with an alright and asks him to join the meeting. Cheyen then shares that there's a main lineup of C+ to B rank adventurers. The proposed lineup for the subjugation team consists of C rank adventurers as the advanced team, with D rank adventurers serving as scouts. The scouts were already conducting research in the field. The meeting was about organizing the advance and main forces. There were only so many wagons available for transporting people and supplies. Cheyen also tells Cassandra that they're technically part of the main force due to their rank. The scene then shifts to when everyone is heading toward the destination, sitting in the wagons. Cheyen shares that he's curious about the line and plans to check if they can advance with the advance team to assess the situation. Cassandra smiles and says they must defeat those monsters. Cheyen happily responds with a yes. Cassandra then adds that Cheyen is surprisingly well connected. Cheyen shares that it happened back when he was teaching at the guild's training for new recruits. Cassandra was amazed that he did so much more than just adventuring. Cheyen said that he had talked to both monsters and animals. Trust from the guild and town was crucial because, once he was attacked by fellow adventurers who mistook him for a monster while he was talking to goblins. So he became desperate to survive after that. Cassandra realized that this was why Cheyen had so much trust from others. Cheyen also mentioned that the blacksmith had even lent him a mithril sword the other day. Cassandra praised Cheyen, saying he was amazing. Cheyen then replied that it wasn't just him. Without the senior who got him involved in training, who knows where he would be. Cassandra asked, "What, a senior adventurer too?" Cheyen responded with a yes. Hearing this, Cassandra smiled and said she would work hard to uphold Cheyen's reputation. The scene then shifted to some time later at the guild's camp, where Pollux and Castro were getting ready to leave. Cheyen, surprised, asked if they were also heading out now. Cheyen told Pollux that it's okay to feel tense, but not to rush. Cassandra also reminded them to run immediately if they encountered a strong enemy, as their job was to survive and report back. Castro shouted that Cassandra was talking as if he would listen to her. Pollux angrily told Castro to stay out of their conversation, all right. Pollux then thanked Cheyen for his help. She asked Cheyen if, when she returned safely, she could ask him for one thing. Cheyen replied that if it was within his power, then sure. At that moment, Castro tried to interrupt, but Pollux thanked Cheyen and quickly ran off. Cheyen then shared that both Pollux and Castro had gifts and a unique synergy. Their teamwork was on another level compared to typical C ranks. Cassandra, confused, asked what type of unique synergy it was. Cheyen responded with a yes and told Cassandra to ask Pollux and Castro about it, but first they should focus on fulfilling their own roles. When Cheyen entered the cave, he curiously asked Lime if he had noticed anything unusual lately. Lime replied that nothing specific, but there had been strange happenings like humans swarming in and orcs digging holes somewhere. Lime also shared that he was worried because the humans might invade his home, and his precious skin was breaking out. Cheyen responded that the guild was moving to stop them. He even told Lime not to worry, as the guild wouldn't bother hidden slimes. Cheyen then started wondering why the orcs were digging, as he had never heard of such intelligence or behavior from them. By then, Cassandra looked very tense, and seeing this, Cheyen curiously asked her what happened. At that moment, Cassandra shouted, "No way, this couldn't be true." The scene then shifted to Pollux and Castro, where Pollux shared that she thought she was lucky, as her village had been destroyed by goblins, forcing her to become an adventurer. She and her brother had gifts and skills, so they could make a living, but they had no reason to live. Still, Cheyen gave her hope. It wasn't as a poor girl who had lost her home. He treated her just as an adventurer. She also shared that his words kept her going, and this time she might be able to help him. Castro told Pollux that he understood how she felt, but they were in enemy territory, so she should just focus. Pollux responded with an "okay, she got it." Suddenly, out of nowhere, many pig orcs appeared and surrounded both siblings. Seeing this, they were terrified. The scene shifted to Cheyen and Cassandra, who had slowly moved deeper into the cave. Cheyen was tense because, with so many people around, the bats couldn't identify everyone. Cassandra then asked Cheyen if it was really okay, as the guild seemed upset about it. Cheyen responded that nothing was more important than those siblings' lives, and Lime's story about the orcs' odd behavior was concerning. Suddenly, they saw something and ran towards it. Cheyen smiled and asked Cassandra if she had seen it too. He also asked, "If they don't act, then what's the point of teaming up?" Cassandra was surprised by Cheyen's words, so she thanked him and suggested they apologize together after saving the siblings. Cheyen then spotted a goblin and told Cassandra to capture it alive. After capturing the goblin, Cheyen asked it where the humans who fought in the cave had gone. The goblin tried to act confused, but Cheyen shouted again, demanding an answer. This time, the goblin nervously shared information about the siblings. As Cheyen headed in that direction, he heard the sounds of fighting and realized that it was true after all. While Cheyen and Cassandra were focused on the voice, the goblin seized the chance and ran away. Cheyen considered capturing it again, but Cassandra shouted, urging him to hurry towards the siblings. The scene then shifted to the siblings, where they were fighting the pig orcs as best as they could. Castro, tense, asked how many of these orcs were in the cave. Pollux responded that it seemed endless. Castro then told Pollux that he would create an opening and asked her to just run away. Pollux shouted, asking what nonsense he was saying. Castro turned back and countered her words. But by then, a pig orc created an opening and was about to attack Castro. Pollux, tense, shouted and tried to warn him, but it was too late. Still, Castro somehow blocked the attack and began thinking that at this rate, they both would be dead. So Castro thought of doing something that would help his sister escape. But suddenly, out of nowhere, Cassandra appeared and saved them. Cheyen also arrived and asked the siblings if they were okay, telling them to leave the rest of the work to him. He then shouted at the orcs, telling them that if they didn't want annihilation, they should retreat now. But to Cheyen's surprise, the orcs started attacking him without responding. Cheyen was stunned, realizing that the orcs weren't listening to him and weren't acting on their own will. Still, Cheyen used the mithril sword to kill the orc. Amazed by its power, he then went to Pollux and told her that he was borrowing her staff for the moment. After taking the staff, Cheyen asked Lime to take care of the siblings. Lime responded with an okay. As the orc charged at him, Cheyen used his wind blade to slash the orc. Cheyen then used the staff's shaft to attack the rest of the orcs. He was amazed by its effectiveness and wondered if this power would work on the gift bearers. Suddenly, he remembered Cassandra and wondered where she was. Cheyen and Cassandra then talked with each other about the orcs. Cassandra remarked that, for an orc, its movements were odd. Cheyen told her that his gift had no effect at all. Cheyen also shared that he had a bad feeling about this. He then went over and woke Pollux from her unconscious state. After waking up, Pollux asked if she had been dreaming. Cheyen responded that it was real and urged her to drink. After drinking, Pollux felt weird and Cheyen smiled, telling her that she seemed alright. Suddenly, Pollux remembered her brother intensely shouted that it looked like something had happened to him. But at that moment, Pollux saw her brother, Castro, praising Cassandra, calling her the red-haired angel. She angrily punched him on the head. After that, Pollux bowed in front of them and thanked Cheyen and Cassandra for their help. Cassandra happily shared that she was glad they were able to save both the siblings. Cheyen then asked Pollux and Castro to head back to headquarters and report. Pollux happily responded with a yes, saying she wouldn't fall for the same trick again. After the siblings left, Cheyen told Cassandra that they would scout around the area. Just then, Lime arrived and intensely shouted that he had something to show him. Cheyen and Cassandra followed Lime all the way to the location he was taking them. Upon reaching the place, Cheyen was stunned to see Cheyen there, but the main concern was that Cheyen was in bad condition, as if he had been beaten by someone. Cassandra, surprised, asked if it was the leader orc they had fought last time. Cheyen responded with a yes, maybe. Lime then asked Cheyen if he could heal Cheyen's wounds, as he wouldn't be able to heal him all at once. Cheyen tensely shouted, asking what Lime was mumbling about, as they were in the cave to take down the pig orcs. Lime then shared that Cheyen had been attacked by that pack of pig ogres, just like him. Hearing this, Cheyen told Cassandra that he was going to start healing Cheyen now, so she should be ready to cut him down if Cheyen tried anything weird. Cassandra was stunned hearing this and asked if Cheyen was kidding, as Cheyen was their enemy. Cheyen explained that Lime said these wounds were caused by Cheyen's own kind, so he was healing Cheyen for this reason, or maybe it was just pity for someone in the same plight. Still, Cheyen thought if they could get some intel on the enemy, it was worth it. Cassandra finally agreed with it and said that honestly, she felt like she could reason with Cheyen. Cheyen thanked Cassandra for her trust. Cassandra then shared that if anyone else had said it, she would think they were crazy, but since Cheyen was her partner, she would trust his judgment too. Cheyen tensely responded that it was kind of embarrassing. Cheyen then started healing Cheyen, but to everyone's surprise, his wounds were healing far too fast. Lime praised Cheyen for it, to which Cheyen responded that he was also surprised his healing magic could work this quickly. Cassandra said that she had never seen anything like this. Cheyen then asked if it was the power of Cheyen's gift as well. When Cheyen recovered, he was surprised to see Cheyen and Cassandra. But before Cheyen could do anything, Lime started jumping and shouting that they were not bad people. Cheyen happily replied that he didn't understand a word Lime was saying, but Lime had helped him back then, right? For that, Cheyen thanked Lime for helping him. He then stood up, realizing that Cheyen had saved him again. Cheyen tensely replied that he never thought they would meet again like this. Cheyen even got excited seeing Cassandra and asked her for a rematch. He then started telling her that he didn't like the idea of killing each other without settling their debts first. So Cheyen said he owed Cheyen one and asked him to name his price. After that, he told Cheyen he must keep his promise and let Cassandra fight with him. Cheyen was surprised to see that Cheyen was so obsessed with fighting Cassandra. Cassandra curiously asked Cheyen if something was wrong. Cheyen shared that Cheyen said he wanted to continue the fight from last time, but he wasn't feeling right for the time being. Cassandra responded with an okay and asked Cheyen to think more about how to get Cheyen to talk. Cheyen agreed, saying he would give it a shot. He then asked Cheyen why his own people had attacked him. Cheyen then shared everything. Cheyen, summarizing, said that according to Cheyen, after killing a comrade and sparing others, he was found out by his boss. Apparently, opposing the surface invasion had made him a target for elimination. Cheyen then apologized to Cheyen for dragging him into this mess. Cheyen responded that it was his choice, so Cheyen didn't need to worry about it. He also shared that it was because he got to fight the strongest of his kind after all. All the orcs just kept coming, and thanks to that, Cheyen got even stronger. Cheyen surprisingly asked if Cheyen didn't hold any grudges against those traitors. Cheyen responded, none. He then shared that he would be lying if he said it didn't sting. He had been doing as he pleased, seeking strong opponents to fight. Anyways, as long as he could fight strong opponents, Cheyen didn't care. He also told Cheyen that if he wanted, he would even help Cheyen take down the boss. Moreover, Cheyen shared that he never liked the way his brother did things. Hearing this, Cheyen surprisingly asked, "Brother? Does that mean the orc leader is your brother?" He then tensely asked if Cheyen also had powers like that too. Cheyen smiled and told Cheyen that he was as sharp as his brother, as Cheyen also had that twisted look, just like his brother named Mac. Cheyen then shared that Mac had a mysterious power. Once Mac subjugated someone, he could give them orders they could never disobey. Cheyen added that while Mac may not be the strongest among the orcs, he was definitely smarter. He told Cheyen that this time, he had let Mac go on purpose to lure him out. And Mac had been talking about some invasion plan or something, but Cheyen didn't fully understand what it was. Hearing all this, Cheyen got tense, realizing that they had gotten caught in the pig's trap. So now, Cheyen thought that if things continued like this, he wasn't sure whether the assault plan would be able to run smoothly or not. Cheyen then asked Cheyen to confirm if they might need to kill Cheyen's brother in front of her if they ended up fighting him. He wanted to know if Cheyen was okay with that. Cheyen responds with a yes, saying he has no reason to protect Mac anymore. Above all, strength is what rules their world. Hearing this, Cheyen nods and shouts, "Cassandra, Lime, let's go. Everyone's in danger." Cassandra, looking confused, asks how it went and if Cheyen got anything out of Cheyen. Cheyen replies with a yes, saying, "The absolute worst kind of intel." Cheyen also shouts that there's little time, so they should talk while moving. Meanwhile, the Golden Fleece Guild, led by Jason, answers the call to arms. The team hurried toward the suspected stronghold of the Pig Ogre's main forces. Jason angrily shouts, asking when they'll get there, warning that if they dawdle, someone else might steal their victory. Atalanta replies that they couldn't afford to be reckless since they didn't know when or where the orcs might strike. Jason, irritated, snaps back, telling Atalanta to ask the bat for directions since hunters could talk to animals, right? Atalanta replies that unless it's a partner she grew up with, she can't talk to bats, for crying out loud. Jason, growing frustrated, mutters that if Cheyen were with them, things wouldn't be such a hassle. Media asks Jason to calm down, to which Jason snaps back, saying that she was the one who suggested exiling Cheyen, right? Media tensely replies that Jason agreed with the decision too. Jason tensely shouts, asking if she's blaming him now, adding that if Cheyen had just done his job, they wouldn't have had to exile him. Jason then starts thinking that the Golden Fleece is a B-class ace team, so they must excel in the caves to rise to A-class. That's why he couldn't afford to lose, especially not to Cheyen. Jason even admits that their intel game is weak, but in terms of combat power, they were unmatched. After all, he was a hero, and the mighty sorceress Medea wielded immense magic. Jason even admits that their intel game is weak, but in terms of combat power, they were unmatched. After all, he was a hero, and the mighty sorceress Medea wielded immense magic. Even a C-class team has the fleet-footed hunter Atalanta and the newly promoted B-class Beast Slayer, Holy Knight Theseus. Jason thinks that with 4 combat-ready, gifted individuals assembled together, they were unstoppable. Meanwhile, Cheyen was teamed up with that demon girl Cassandra, so there was no way he would lose in a head-on fight. Jason then shouts, asking about the situation. Theseus responds that they were struggling to take the stronghold. Some squads had made it inside, but the orc leader was at the front, holding them back. Hearing this, Jason smiles, thinking that every hero needs a trial to overcome. He had thought they were late to the party, but now he believed fate was smiling upon him. Jason decided he would take down the orc boss and usher in a new era for the Golden Fleece. He then shouts, telling everyone to leave the battlefield to the Golden Fleece team. The scene then shifts to Cheyen's side, where Cassandra asks Cheyen if the current chieftain is actually his brother in disguise. She notes that for a pig ogre, he's weak but surprisingly clever. Cheyen then asks Cheyen what kind of person Mac is. Cheyen shares that Mac was frail and treated poorly within the tribe. He recalls that one day when Cheyen was out hunting, Mac was taken along on another group's hunt. Cheyen didn't know what happened there, but the ones who took Mac started obeying his orders. After that, Mac had them hunt for him to survive. Cheyen, confused, asks if that's when Mac awakened his ability. Cheyen responds with a yes, maybe so. He continues, saying that everyone believes Mac's power lets him command anyone he defeats. Since then, Mac became increasingly cruel. For some reason, more followers gathered around him, and he grew more arrogant. Before Cheyen knew it, Mac had even taken control of the previous chieftain. Not just within the tribe, Mac eventually started talking about conquering the surface world. Cheyen shares that he was against it because he knew more about the outside world than Mac did and refused to leave the village. Cheyen says that's why the brothers are close, but things were going bad, and then they came along, and the orcs kicked them out. Seeing Cheyen's expression, Cheyen asks him not to make that face. Cheyen again says that's how he met Cheyen all over again. Cheyen responds that with the former chief gone, they could boldly kill each other, and honestly, it's not bad at all. Cassandra asks them to hang on, pointing out that the guild considers the most powerful pig demon to be its leader. Even if they could destroy the current forces, it would be dangerous if the pig orcs invaded again when they let their guard down. Cheyen agrees, stating that he would kill the true chief at all costs. The scene shifts to the Golden Fleece team, where Jason is tense, frustrated that they're struggling in front of those so-called weaklings. Medea shouts at Jason for something, to which Jason tells Theseus to stay out of the magic's path. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Atalanta gets hurt. Seeing this, Jason orders Theseus to fall back and heal Atalanta. At that moment, Jason thinks to himself that Atalanta's judgment is way too slow. At this rate, Cheyen would be a better choice. The pig orcs were coming one by one, so Medea shouts at Jason to dodge. At that moment, Medea uses her attack, and all the pigs in the front disappear. Jason praises Medea and tells her to charge while they have the chance. Theseus says that the healing isn't done yet. Jason tells Theseus to finish healing and then provide backup as they're going in. Once inside, Jason sees that some adventurers are still alive. Jason tells the adventurers that he will give them backup and asks them to guard Medea while he fights the orc king. Jason is now standing in front of the orc leader. Jason charges at the orc leader, believing that defeating him would make him the hero. The two begin their fierce battle. Seeing Jason fighting alone with the orc leader, the adventurers are shocked. Medea shouts that it's their chance and tells them to get ready. Meanwhile, as Jason fights, he tensely thinks that the orc leader is tougher than he expected. If this keeps up, they would be overrun. Jason then wonders about the nagging feeling inside him. How does a brute like the orc leader manage to organize these pigs so well? At that moment, Jason smiles, realizing the battle is about to end. He knows Medea is getting time to charge up her magic attack. He steps aside, and Medea's magic hits the orc leader directly. After that, Jason wonders if they defeated the orc leader. But as the fog clears, everyone sees that the orc leader is fully unharmed. Jason realizes that the orc leader, Mac, used his own weakling pig orcs to defend himself. Determined, Jason charges at the leader again, but this time, the orc leader easily slashes him. Blood splashes over Medea's face. She tensely shouts, asking if Jason is okay. Jason, wounded, wonders how it came to this, as he was supposed to be destined for glory. Now Jason finds himself beaten and trapped by pigs. Medea tensely tries to protect him, but Jason thinks that the front lines have collapsed. At least Medea should run and save herself. Suddenly, voices come from the other side. When Jason looks over, he's stunned to see Cheyen and Cassandra approaching, ready to fight the orc leader. Cheyen and Cassandra are running toward the orc leader's location. On the way, Cheyen feels a tremor and shouts that the tremor they just felt was Medea's powerful magic. Cassandra responds that it means they're close and urges Cheyen to keep running. Suddenly, they spot a light coming from somewhere, so they charge toward it. When Cheyen reaches the spot, he sees Jason injured and sitting on the ground. Without hesitation, Cheyen charges at the giant orc leader and slashes him with his sword. After that, Cheyen shouts, telling Cheyen and Cassandra that he's counting on them. Cassandra smiles and says, "Leave it to me." Cheyen also responds with a yes, confirming that he got it. Cheyen then steps toward the giant orc, saying that he's always wanted to fight him. Cassandra, seeing the orc leader, smiles with excitement, recognizing him as an Arc Lord, the Hog Demon Chief, a worthy opponent. Cheyen then approaches Medea and asks if she's still alive. Medea responds with a yes. Cheyen then shouts Lime's name. Lime responds, saying he didn't want to help a human, but since Cheyen asked, there's no choice. Jason tensely asks why it had to be Cheyen. The giant orc orders his army to kill all the humans, warning that Cheyen will die too if he tries to get in his way. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a full reinforcement of pig orcs arrives to attack the humans. Seeing this, Cheyen grows tense, wondering what's going on. He quickly grabs Medea's caster wand, shouting that he's borrowing it. Just as Cheyen was about to use magic, Medea shouts that her magic had been drained. Cheyen grows tense, wondering what to do next. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a grand flame erupts, wiping out the attacking orcs. It turns out it was Cassandra who helped Cheyen, seeing that he was about to cast a grand spell. Cheyen, confused, asks if it was Cassandra who helped him. But first he tells Medea that they need to pull back for the time being. Cheyen then shares that his magic was unstable from the backlash. They still need to heal Jason quickly. Just then, Atalanta arrives and asks Medea if that fire earlier was her doing. Atalanta is surprised to see Cheyen there. Cheyen tells Atalanta and Theseus that they arrived just in time, as he's been holding back the bleeding with Lime's help. But he's completely out of magic. Cheyen then asks Theseus if he can count on him. Theseus nods and replies with a yes. Cheyen then asks about the status elsewhere. Atalanta shares that the rear is secured, so they can provide internal support. She then asks if she could give Cheyen and Cassandra the support they need. Cheyen responds with a yes, and says that's why they need to find the Hog Demon commander now. Hearing this, everyone is stunned, as they had thought the giant orc was their leader. Cheyen then shares everything that Cheyen had told them. Everyone, confused, asks if Cheyen is sure about it. Cheyen responds with a yes, explaining that he got the information straight from the Hog Demon himself using the translator. Atalanta then asks if they can trust Cheyen. Cheyen responds that the fact Cheyen is fighting alongside them proves it beyond doubt. Everyone, surprised, then asks if the Black Hog Demon is the one standing in front of them. On the other hand, Cheyen is locked in battle with the giant orc. Cheyen praises the orc's strength, acknowledging his power, but the two continue to clash fiercely with each other. During the fight, when Cassandra saw an opening, she struck the giant orc from behind. After hitting it, she asked in confusion if it was hollow. Max saw Cassandra and, in shock, shouted, asking who this woman was. Nervously, he ordered the orc group to take her down first, saying it would end badly for them otherwise. Hearing the voice, Cheyen finally managed to find Mac. He shouted to inform Atalanta about Mac's location and asked if she could handle it. Atalanta replied confidently, saying she would give it a try. To their surprise, the arrow hit Mac directly. Cheyen curiously asked if they had managed to take him down. Atalanta replied with a no. Mac was injured and lying on the ground in shock, unable to believe the adventurers would target him. Atalanta felt sad, thinking she had messed up. But Cheyen happily said it was okay since Mac was definitely injured. He then ordered everyone to attack Mac together. Everyone rushed to attack Mac, but he quickly ordered the orcs to protect him. After a tough fight, the adventurers cheered, shouting that they had finally managed to take down the gift user Mac. At that moment, Cassandra noticed that all the orcs' movements suddenly changed after hearing the news. Determined, she decided to take down the giant orc as well. With a single slash, a massive blast occurred, and the giant orc was defeated. Cassandra announced that she had defeated the giant orc, so the other adventurers went after the smaller ones. Cheyen stood silently, lost in thought. Noticing this, Cassandra asked him if he was worried about something. In response, Cheyen asked if he could speak with her and Cheyen. The scene then shifted to Mac, who had actually fled, leaving the adventurers behind, and was now training with someone who looked just like him. Mac was stunned, thinking it was impossible. Neutralizing the mages should have guaranteed victory, yet something was off. He couldn't understand what was going on with that man named Cheyen. As Cheyen completely ignored the former chief and headed straight for him, Mac thought to himself that he was probably just another human, like him. Still, Mac felt relieved, knowing he had managed to switch places with a decoy during the chaos of the rescinded orders. He thought that once he returned to his lair, he would regroup and seek his revenge. Even those fools had proven with his power that humans could be defeated, but what Mac couldn't forgive was the traitor Cheyen. He shared that he had always believed Cheyen would always have his back. But still, Cheyen had betrayed him, and Mac wondered if this was Cheyen's revenge for being vanished. While lost in thoughts about Cheyen and everything else, he eventually reached his destination. Suddenly, to Mac's shock, he heard Cheyen's voice, saying it looked like he made it just in time. Cassandra praised Cheyen for being spot on about Mac fleeing. Cheyen responded that it was just a hunch though. Cheyen even mentioned that it was a good thing to confirm Mac's face with Cheyen's help. Mac, still in shock, tensely wondered why Cheyen had come. Cheyen then commented that he didn't expect an intelligent hog demon to be this tough. Mac, still processing, thought about Cassandra, realizing this girl had fought the former chief to a standstill. Cheyen then said, "This time, it's the end." Mac was even more confused, wondering how he was able to understand Cheyen's words. Cheyen then told Mac that he no longer had any pawns to protect him, and this time, they wouldn't let him escape. Still, Mac thought it was destiny, a stroke of luck. He knew well the terror and kindness of humans, so he decided to beg for his life and try to escape the mess he had gotten into. Mac began shouting, pleading with Cheyen to spare him. He promised that he would seek revenge, claiming he hadn't wanted to do any of this, but it couldn't be helped. Look at him now. Cheyen began to speak, saying that maybe he and Mac weren't so different after all. He explained that Mac, like him, was desperate to survive and had done whatever he could to rise up, to survive, and to stay alive. Cheyen then asked Mac if he promised never to come to the surface again. Hearing this, Mac smiled to himself, thinking that humans were truly foolish. Mac responded with a yes, saying he had enough of all this. Cheyen then told Mac that his power allowed him to read Mac's true feelings. Hearing this, Mac was stunned and, in a fit of rage, charged at Cheyen, shouting and calling him a bastard. Cheyen easily dodged the attack, causing Mac to fall to the ground again. Cassandra praised Cheyen for his skill and realized that Mac was indeed the chief and had even prepared a decoy. Cheyen responded with a yes, saying that Mac shouldn't be much of a threat if left alone now. However, he added that Mac was even craftier than he had initially thought. Cassandra then asked Cheyen if he could have ended up the same way had things been different. She pointed out that Mac had struggled just like him, doing whatever he could to survive with weak power. Wasn't he thinking like that? She asked. Mac responded with a no, insisting it wasn't like that. Cassandra then shouted, urging Cheyen to listen properly, saying that she and Mac were nothing alike. She explained that Mac only saw his kin as disposable pieces. Cheyen could have used her as a pawn too, but he didn't. Moreover, Mac used his gifts solely for himself, while Cheyen used his to help others, so they weren't even a little bit similar. At that moment, Cheyen fell completely silent and stared at her. Cassandra, feeling awkward, asked him not to go silent on her like that, saying it was very embarrassing. Suddenly, Cheyen smiled and thanked Cassandra, saying she was the best partner ever. She blushed at the compliment and then quickly suggested they leave, as everyone was pulling back. They then made their way back to everyone, where Cheyen met Cheyen. Cheyen asked, Mac failed the ambush and ended up being countered, right? Cheyen was about to say something, but Cheyen stopped him, saying, they fought. His brother Mac lost, so that's it. Cheyen shared that when he was just a kid, Mac had shared what little meat he had with him, and that meat had been really delicious. He added that before gaining power, Mac had a kind heart. Cheyen then said that he didn't know how to honor the dead and asked Cheyen if he could leave it to him. Cheyen responded with a yes, adding that Cheyen should not forget that promise. Cheyen responded that he understood and told Cheyen he would be back. After that, all the adventurers left the cave, and Cheyen followed, giving Cheyen a parting greeting before leaving. So guys, what do you think will happen next? But the real question is, what is the mysterious connection between Cheyen and Cheyen? Is there more to Cheyen's loyalty than meets the eye? Could his past with Mac change everything? If you're as curious as I am to find out what happens next, make sure to hit that subscribe button and press the bell icon so you don't miss any updates. Stay tuned for the next episode. Things are about to get even more intense.